Alex Eala, live now. Watch for free before removal is a rare opportunity. June 1st, Edgbaston Priory Club. 2 women, 2 losing streaks, and an unforgiving surface. Alex Eala steps onto the Birmingham grass carrying the aftershocks of Roland Garros, a straight sets defeat that left fans deflated because it came so quietly. On paper, this is an opening match that the number 2 seed, world number 37, should breeze through as a mere formality. But tennis rarely respects what is written on paper, especially during the surface transition week. And that is exactly why this Live Now video is an absolute must-watch. Not for cheap drama, but because it thrusts Eala right into her biggest psychological test. Can she hit reset, or will she carry the cracks from the clay season onto the grass? Across the net stands Priscilla Hon, 28 years old, who carries a statistic that sounds like a curse. She has never won a WTA-level match on grass. 0 wins, 3 attempts, 3 losses. Yet, those numbers mask a vital truth. Hon has held match points against top 30 players, pushed Ostapenko to the brink in Beijing, and stunned the 17th seed at the US Open inside a rocking Arthur Ashe Stadium. This is not the type of opponent who shows up just to lose gracefully. This is the type of opponent driven by a long-awaited conviction that she truly belongs and can compete at this level. With both players trapped in a must-not-lose-again state of mind, this match transforms into a psychological thriller. If you are a Filipino fan, a member of the OFW diaspora, or a follower of Pro Tennis 360 for its evidence-first storytelling and deep elements of pride, family, and faith, then this is a match you need to watch right now while it is still free. If you find this type of content valuable, subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel so you don't miss any fact-driven, perfectly paced, and emotionally resonant breakdowns throughout this grass court season. Priscilla Hon, 0 wins on grass, but do not expect a walkover. Hearing never won a WTA-level match on grass makes people want to lock in a quick prediction. Eala 2-0, done. But tennis is not a game of simple arithmetic. Hon is a textbook example of a player whose history on a surface does not tell the whole story. There are players who spend years not suiting grass simply because they haven't figured out how to win short points. And then, one day, they tweak a single detail, usually their confidence in their serve, and the entire map of the match reshapes itself. Hon grew up on the hard courts of Brisbane, an environment where grass is practically non-existent. Her 13 ITF titles have come almost exclusively on hard and clay courts. The development system did not teach her the reflexes to slide, how to handle low bounces, or the instinct to rush the net and close out points. However, when she commits to her serve, her average of 4.5 aces per match, an elite stat for a player outside the top 100, serves as the ultimate warning sign. If Hon maintains a high first serve percentage, she can force a higher-seeded opponent to play entirely at her tempo. What makes this intriguing is that the Birmingham courts in the opening week are typically not lightning fast. Edgbaston plays slightly slower than Queens or Eastbourne do at the start of the season, meaning that while a heavy serve remains dangerous, it doesn't get rewarded with too much extra zip. This presents a dual scenario. It serves as an opportunity for Eala, the superior ball striker, but poses a challenge for Hon. If Hon cannot extract free points from her serve, she will be forced to win through rallies, an area where she is functional but lacks creativity, making her prone to getting caught in no man's land when forced to place the ball with absolute precision. Thus, the fascination of this match lies in the question, will Hon's serve be enough to rewrite her history on grass? If it is, things could start shaking up as early as the first set. Alex Eala on grass, not just surviving, but thriving. Grass is a surface where many players go quiet due to the limited reaction time, the low bounces, and the rapid-fire points. For Eala, however, grass acts like a light switch. During last year's British grass swing, she didn't just play well, she looked completely at home. After a tough 3-set loss to Linda Fruhvirtova in Birmingham, she immediately went to Nottingham and captured the title. Then came Eastbourne, staging a comeback against Zvonareva, dismantling Ostapenko, crushing Yastremska, and reaching her first WTA final, only falling in a razor-thin third-set super tiebreak, 10-8. A 10-5 record on grass last season is a large enough sample size to prove that she thrives here. It is no fluke. Why does it work? Because Eala's lefty serve creates incredibly awkward angles on grass. The ball skids low and breaks sharply away from right-handed returners. She doesn't need a powerhouse serve. What she relies on is a combination of angle, rhythm, and placement. On grass, where the ball stays low, a returner who loses their timing pays the price instantly. Couple that with her exceptional ability to redirect pace, absorbing the opponent's power and carving out sharp angles, and you have a skill set that is devastatingly effective when rallies rarely exceed 4 to 6 shots. Yet, the core focus of this video transcript isn't just about Eala being good on grass. The crux of the matter is that she enters Birmingham with a body that harbors the muscle memory of a losing streak. When you drop 3 consecutive matches, you don't just lose ranking points, you lose trust in your own body. The service toss becomes hesitant, the return positioning drifts back, and the legs feel heavy before the point even begins. Tennis at that juncture becomes a battle against one's own reflexes. While grass could be the exact place where Eala resets her season, just as she did after Miami, Birmingham is also where the memories of things going wrong last year linger. And that lingering memory makes the weight of set 1 far heavier than any tournament seeding would suggest. The 4-day transition from clay to grass, a test of body and rhythm. There is a reality that fans often overlook. Switching surfaces involves far more than just changing shoes. Clay grants you time, a deliberate rhythm to read the ball, long slides, and extended baseline rallies. Grass strips all of that away. You have to bend your knees lower to cope with the low bounce, and you must completely recalibrate your split step because the ball darts through faster and stays lower than anticipated. The service toss needs to move slightly forward to generate a flat, penetrating delivery rather than the spin-up trajectory used on clay. Adapting to these shifts typically requires a full week. Eala has had roughly 4 days from Paris to Birmingham. It is far from ideal, but it is not a death sentence because the muscle memory from last year's stellar grass campaign is still intact. The catch is that muscle memory only unlocks when the mind stops playing defense. If you are still carrying the mental baggage of having your serve picked apart on clay, that hesitation translates into double faults or a plunging first serve percentage on grass. And if that percentage drops below 55%, the door swings wide open for Hon. Consequently, set 1 is paramount. This isn't just because the winner of the opening set statistically goes on to win the match, but because set 1 will reveal whether Eala is playing with her natural grass instincts or out of a lingering clay fear. If during the first 3 or 4 games, Eala is standing deep on the return, tossing the ball erratically and directing negative body language toward her coaching box, it is a clear signal that the match could devolve into real drama, a mental collapse. Conversely, if her first serve percentage stays above 60%, if her backhand angles begin finding their targets, and if she takes the ball early in rallies, the scoreboard might look routine, even if the atmosphere inside the stadium remains as taut as a piano wire. First serve percentage, 60%, is the safety zone. The transcript establishes a very clear benchmark. If Eala lands over 60% of her first serves, Hon will never find her rhythm on the return. It sounds simplistic, but that is the very essence of grass court tennis. On grass, the server holds a natural advantage because points are short, forcing the returner to read the ball instantaneously. For Eala, the serve isn't built on raw speed, but on precision and deception. Her lefty slice angle on grass forces the ball to skib low, ripping opponents out of their comfort zone on the return. From there, Eala only needs to hit a deep follow-up shot to immediately assume total control of the point. If her first serve percentage dips below 55%, the dynamic of the match completely shifts. Hon will begin seeing more looks at the ball, striking her returns deeper, and suddenly, Eala will find herself locked in baseline rallies from a defensive posture. In those moments, the recent losing streak can manifest as second-guessing, wanting to serve safer but losing the angle, trying to hit bigger but losing her timing, or trying to inject pace before her feet have adapted to the grass. For Hon, the objective is to drag Eala into that precise zone of instability. Hon needs her own first serve percentage to remain high enough to maintain scoreboard pressure. If she holds her service games comfortably in the opening 2 or 3 games, the number 2 seed will begin to feel the suffocating pressure of knowing she has zero margin for error. Once that feeling takes root, a single double fault can blow a set wide open, turning it into a genuinely tight contest. In other words, this match isn't a battle of Eala versus Hon, but rather Eala versus her own first serve percentage. That internal tug-of-war is exactly what will keep viewers glued to their screens. Will Hon's serve translate effectively to grass? Hon possesses the single biggest weapon in this matchup. On hard courts, her disguised flat first delivery, combined with a heavy kick second serve, can establish a clean starting position even against much higher-ranked opponents. On paper, grass should amplify that weapon due to the lower bounce, faster pace, and reduced reaction time. Yet, her track record states the exact opposite. She has never won a WTA-level grass match. Why? Because a serve is only as good as the shot that follows it. It is about closing out the point. If, after hitting a massive serve, you lack the transitional footwork to finish the job, whether that means coming to the net for a volley or striking a sharp +1 ball, a big serve merely buys you a good start to the point rather than the point itself. Analysts note that Hon's footwork on grass can look unsteady and her net skills aren't sharp enough to regularly close out short points. For Hon, the objective is to drag Eala into that precise zone of instability. Hon needs her own first serve percentage to remain high enough to maintain scoreboard pressure. If she holds her service games comfortably in the opening 2 or 3 games, the number 2 seed will begin to feel the suffocating pressure of knowing she has zero margin for error. Once that feeling takes root, a single double fault can blow a set wide open, turning it into a genuinely tight contest. In other words, this match isn't a battle of Eala versus Hon, but rather Eala versus her own first serve percentage. That internal tug-of-war is exactly what will keep viewers glued to their screens. Will Hon's serve translate effectively to grass? Hon possesses the single biggest weapon in this matchup, her serve. On hard courts, her disguised flat first delivery, combined with a heavy kick second serve, can establish a clean starting position even against much higher-ranked opponents. On paper, grass should amplify that weapon due to the lower bounce, faster pace, and reduced reaction time. Yet, her track record states the exact opposite. She has never won a WTA-level grass match. Why? Because a serve is only as good as the shot that follows it. It is about closing out the point. If, after hitting a massive serve, you lack the transitional footwork to finish the job, whether that means coming to the net for a volley or striking a sharp +1 ball, a big serve merely buys you a good start to the point, rather than the point itself. Analysts note that Hon's footwork on grass can look unsteady, and her net skills aren't sharp enough to regularly close out short points.
Grass demands an absolute commitment to ending points early, because long, protracted rallies on this surface are rare and highly unpredictable. So, what are the early warning signs of a potential upset? The transcript offers highly specific metrics. Hon maintaining a first serve percentage above 65% and winning over half of her second serve points in the opening set. These two indicators would prove that she isn't just making her first serves, but that her second serve isn't getting eaten alive by Eala. If Hon can protect her second serve, Eala will be forced to work much harder, dragging the match into pressure points, the exact territory where the divide between the top 40 and those outside the top 100 is defined by execution under duress. However, because the Birmingham courts play slightly slower early in the week, the rewards of pure serve dominance are somewhat mitigated. This works to Eala's advantage. As the superior ball striker, she can lure Hon into 5 to 6 shot rallies and manipulate the angles. If extended rallies become the norm, the edge tilts decisively toward Eala. Hon must avoid this at all costs by keeping points as brief as possible. In rallies extending beyond 5 shots, Eala's superiority shines. Grass rarely affords players the luxury of extended exchanges, but when a rally crosses the 4 to 5 shot threshold, it becomes a pure technical exam. Who can place the ball with better precision, who redirects pace more effectively, and who controls their unforced errors? The transcript asserts that Eala possesses a distinct edge here. Her hand speed, her ability to redirect the ball, and her capacity to absorb pace and carve out sharp angles are her ultimate grass weapons. Hon's baseline game is described as functional, not creative, hitting flat, targeting big zones, and failing to construct complex geometric patterns on the court. On grass, that linear approach can easily backfire. Flat shots that lack depth become absolute ammunition for an opponent looking to change directions, while trying to hit too deep with a flat stroke leaves a tiny margin for error, often causing the ball to fly out or land in no man's land. Without a clear tactical pattern, a player becomes blind to the right moments to change the rhythm or launch an attack. Eala is the exact opposite. She can manipulate the pace just enough before pulling the trigger on an unexpected change of direction. On grass, changing the direction of the ball at the perfect moment causes an opponent to slip or ends up catching them half a step slow. And on this surface, half a step is all it takes to lose a point. Therefore, Eala's strategy should center on patience in the opening set. She must accept a few games of feeling out the grass while consistently dragging Hon into exchanges long enough to let the disparity in baseline quality surface. Once Eala begins striking deep returns off Hon's second serves, the momentum will steadily shift in her favor. This explains why the transcript projects a 2-0 victory for Eala that is anything but clean. The scoreboard might read 6-4, 6-3, or 6-3, 6-4, but every single game will be fiercely contested. Body language, the signs of a collapse, often appear early. There is a segment of the transcript that is pure gold for anyone tracking the psychology of elite sports. Watch the opening 3 to 4 games closely. Do not watch to see who takes the lead, but to see what the body language is communicating. According to the transcript, if Eala begins staring back at her coaching box with blatant frustration, it signals the return of a psychological pattern that preceded her worst collapses earlier this season. These behavioral cues never show up in a post-match stat sheet, yet they are precisely what fans can feel. The way she walks between points, the way she obsessively adjusts her racket strings, or the way she glares down at the grass as if it were a hostile, alien surface. Grass exposes negative body language faster than any other surface because everything happens in the blink of an eye. There is no time to reset yourself through a grueling baseline rally. Drop 2 quick points and you are instantly facing a break point. And a break point on grass hits like a slap in the face. There is no time to think, only time to react. The same rule applies to Hon. If Hon begins to doubt her own footwork, you will immediately see her looking reactive on low balls, rushed into desperate volleys, or chipping returns back with a safe block instead of hitting through her swing. When that happens, the effectiveness of her serve plummets because she loses the courage to step inside the baseline following her delivery. Tennis is ultimately a game of belief. The player who believes will always move half a step ahead. The player who doubts will lag half a step behind. On grass, that half step makes all the difference in the world. This is what makes this video so compelling. It doesn't just chronicle a tennis match, it chronicles a war between current belief and past heartbreak.
Why Birmingham matters, the defensive stand for the grass season. To a casual tennis fan, Birmingham is just another warm-up tournament in the build-up to Wimbledon. But to anyone tracking the rankings, this is the exact moment where Eala must begin defending the massive haul of ranking points she accumulated during her spectacular grass swing last season. The transcript lays it bare. Failed to make a deep run during this stretch, and her ranking will take a hit, softening her top 40 position just as Wimbledon approaches. That pressure is an invisible weight she carries onto the court, whether she openly acknowledges it or not. And that specific brand of pressure often makes the opening set feel significantly heavier for her than it does for her unseeded opponent. For Hon, the stakes are completely different, yet equally haunting. She has never won a WTA-level match on grass. Pulling off an upset here wouldn't just mean defeating the number 2 seed, it would mean erasing the final glaring vacancy in her professional resume. It would provide an answer to a question that has dogged her for a decade. Is there a surface out there that I am fundamentally incapable of winning on? When you place these two narratives side by side, the match takes on a massive structural weight. On one side stands the pressure of defending status. On the other lies a golden opportunity to break a career curse. This deep narrative layer ensures that even a prediction of an Eala victory does nothing to diminish the drama of the match. Sports do not care about probabilities. Sports care about moments. And those definitive moments usually manifest on the very first breakpoint, the second double fault, or a service game where a player's nerves begin to unravel. So, if you are tuning into this match, look past the ball flights. Look at why every single point carries such an immense psychological weight. Prediction: Eala wins 2-0, but set 1 could be a wild ride. Based on the transcript's analysis, the most logical prediction remains an Eala victory. Her grass court pedigree is simply too formidable to ignore. A 10-5 record last season, a title in Nottingham, a final in Eastbourne, and a skill set, lefty angles combined with elite pace redirection that feels tailor-made for this surface.
Furthermore, the fact that the Birmingham courts play a bit slower during the opening week favors a comprehensive ball striker like Eala far more than it does a serve-reliant player. However, predicting a win should never be confused with predicting an easy match. The opening set could easily turn into a neck-and-neck battle, or even swing in Hon's favor if Eala starts sluggishly, suffers a drop in her first serve percentage, or displays visible signs of frustration in her body language. Final score prediction: 6-4, 6-3, or 6-3, 6-4 in favor of Eala. On a standard results board, it will look like a routine day at the office. In reality, on the court, it will be a high-tension affair. Hon is fully capable of generating early breakpoints, holding her serve comfortably if her first serve percentage stays high, and forcing Eala to earn every single game the hard way. The ultimate turning point will come down to conversion efficiency. Eala is expected to be far more clinical at converting her breakpoint opportunities, whereas Hon, historical records show she converts only about 33% of her breakpoints when facing top 50 opposition. Those tiny percentage points are exactly what decide a set. If you are looking to spot an early upset signal, keep a close eye on these 4 markers. Hon's first serve percentage climbing above 65%. Hon winning the majority of her second serve points in set 1. Eala committing more than 2 double faults in a single set. And Eala looking toward her coaching box with frustration within the first 4 games. Those signs will tell you instantly whether you are watching a routine victory or an absolute thriller. If you appreciate tennis analysis that seamlessly blends deep emotional narratives like Filipino pride, family, and faith with cold, hard fact-checking, make sure to subscribe to the Pro Tennis 360 channel. Stay ahead of every pivotal match this grass season before it passes by as a missed moment.